make sure. Alright, but I think this is it. Yeah. Let's see if I can get a picture. Oh, that is really, really low. It's so deep and cold over here. Let me put the GoPro in the water and see what I can see. I'm sorry, if I can put my GoPro flashlight on. I think it keeps going, but I don't know. Oh, it's so cold.
So immediately this makes me think about like the giants of the old world and the Nephilim and how there were many floods back in the day. And the thoughts came to mind like, what if one of these floods wiped out the giants in a way that there was something like in the water that made their bodies turn to stone? But the thought keeps coming up like it had something to do with lightning. I don't know why. It has something to do with like lightning. But it's no secret that giants did exist and they still exist today. But there was a film called Moana. People keep telling me to watch. I've never seen it, but people were saying like in the film that they were showing you how the giants like were turned into stone. And there have been many photos where you can see like giants that or stone stones that look like animals and humans. Let me show you one of them. Here's one, and that giant looked like a brother. Look at that nose. Y'all, these are like some late night thoughts. I got a sleepy mind, so y'all just stick with me. But look at this one. This, you can clearly see a face, a body, an arm. There's something to this. These stones, I don't think that people just carved these stones out to look like people. These could have been giants, but not like the giants that we think like Shaquille O'Neal, or like giants that were like 12 feet tall. I'm talking about like giants whose head could touch the ceiling, the iron bowl, the firmament. And I believe they even showed a glimpse of this in the film Eternals, which was extremely underrated. If you haven't seen Marvel's Eternals, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should watch that with your third eye. But Tiamat, was turned into stone. And I think that there is something to this where giants have been turned into stone. And it makes me think of like Medusa and how Perseus defeated Medusa. But one look at Medusa, her gaze could make you turn into stone, right? Quick side note, Perseus was the son of Zeus. Zeus was the personification of the sky, right? And if his son was Perseus, then his son was in a way representing lightning, because Percy is just short for Perseus. But in the film, the movie, they associated with Perseus with lightning, right? Him being the son of Zeus. Zeus always had a lightning bolt. Zeus was just the personification of the sky, right? And the lightning was like Zeus's his message to the ground. But Perseus was also led by Athena, right? And Hermes is like Hermes is Mercury. Hermes is Thoth, wisdom. And if you take the root for Perseus' name, then it means like strike, like lightning strike. And Perseus had a offspring that he left with the Oceanids, right? And Oceanids were like the great primordial world encircling river, like the North Pole, right? And it's no coincidence that Perseus defeated Medusa in that same like area. If you just go watch my lecture, Relic, I break this all down. But I think it's that lecture. It's one of my lectures. I don't know. But Percy is defeating Medusa, the Gorgon, Medusa's stare turning people into stone. That's all symbolic for the North Pole, because Athena represents like boundaries, right? And that's like a boundary at the Arctic Circle. Anyway, I'm saying all this to say I believe that the giants turning into stone had a lot to do with lightning. And another side note, the Egyptian equivalent to Athena is Neith, which is the goddess of like the cosmos, waters, rivers, childbirth, because childbirth is always associated with North Pole, Kronos eating children, right? Kronos, Saturn, Loki. Now, this isn't the only time that you hear about the North Pole being associated with giants, right? You have The Smoky God, A Voyage to the Inner World by Willis George Emerson, which was a real account, like a real life account of Olaf Jansen, who was a Norwegian sailor who sailed with his dad, who said that they came about real life giants when they sailed to the North Pole. And they said that these giants lived in a place that was started off as the Garden of Eden. And another side note, you hear about Santa and the elves, right? Santa's helpers. Well, in Norse mythology, you have the black elves. And these black elves were engaged by Loki, the black sun, Saturn, to craft replacement hair for the wife of Thor. And in Norse mythology is also where you hear about Valhalla, right? Valhalla, Mount Meru, Garden of Eden. It's all the same place. Hyperborea, Mount Olympus, right? And the Lord of the Rings, which is just another way of saying Saturn, has this dark tower in the movie, in the poster. And this dark tower represents the Black Rock, like the tower at the North Pole that reaches the heaven. So just another way of telling you that Saturn, the black sun, is associated with the Black Rock. Also in The Wizard of Oz, Oz is the same place where the Black Rock is. You see in the poster that's tall tower, which kind of looks like, in my opinion, looks like the a cut off like tree. Well, like this, like this looks like a huge tree stump, which used to be, which they will call a mountain today, right? But a mountain that we know is nothing more than the cutoff of these huge trees that used to touch the heaven. And thank you so much to somebody in my tribe in Patreon, Nicole, who sent me this photo that her daughter took when she was above, I believe it was California. You can just see that this city is built on what looks like the tree of life, which looks like just a cut off tree. You can clearly see the stump on the side. And a lot of people are just living, their cities are just built up on these mountains, which are just nothing more than old trees, which is closely related to the giants, because if the giants were able to exist, that tall, like their head is bigger than some buildings, right? If you cut off the source, that's giving these giants so much oxygen. And I believe it was probably like a higher form of oxygen, which made these giants so tall. A snake can only grow as large as the container you put it in. So if you put a snake in a small container, it's going to be small. If you put a snake in a huge aquarium, that snake's going to be like an anaconda. These giants, the main source that was giving them their oxygen, or whatever that their oxygen was, it was the thing that was making them so tall. So if you cut down these trees, you cut down their ability to thrive in that environment. So if these giants were cut down, right, turned into stone by like Medusa's stare, Medusa being associated with the North Pole, it could be just associated with the cutting down of all these trees, which turned these giants into stone. But I still think it has something to do with lightning. And since Loki hired these, black elves to replace Thor's wife's hair, then that's another way of saying like Satan's helpers, Loki's helpers. Just wanted to throw that tidbit in there. So another thing that connects Perseus to the North Pole, right, is that he was led by Hermes. Hermes' symbol is the caduceus, the two snakes going up the pole, which represents Polaris. At the top of the pole is the wings, which represents the stars that are locked around Polaris. And Medusa that Perseus defeated also represents the Ouroboros.